In this part of Clickers in the Classroom, we're going to create a PowerPoint polling. The poll is what you call it when you collect the student responses. So we're going to do that via PowerPoint. So as you can see here, I have PowerPoint open, and if you look across at the tabs that go across the top here, this is my full presentation. Just look at the tabs and look at the one you do not see. The one you don't see is called turning point. Okay, so you're missing a tab right here. And I say that to say this. When you get ready to create or edit a PowerPoint presentation that you're going to use to collect responses from the clickers, you're going to start from this turning point dashboard. So what we're going to work on is this very first PowerPoint polling. Okay. Now, if I try to click this right now, it tells me, hey, you have another version of PowerPoint open. I cannot open that right now. So what it's telling me is I really have to close, let me go back over here, and close this PowerPoint first. Now I need to give it just a second to make sure it fully closes so that it doesn't detect it anymore. So when I'm sure it's closed and my computer's kind of slow, so I pause the video there just to make sure, I'm going to click on this. And aha, it is opening PowerPoint. And here it comes. Like I said, my computer's a little older, slower. This works on different versions of PowerPoint. It's whatever PowerPoint is installed on your computer. And the Turning Point dialog box knows to open that. Now, once PowerPoint is open, you can start with a completely blank presentation, build it all from scratch. You can open a presentation that you already have. For example, if you have presentation, PowerPoint slides that are provided by a book publisher or by somebody else, and you want to insert into that presentation some polling questions, you can certainly do that. I have a presentation that I've just kind of been playing with called Practice Presentation 1, so I'm going to go ahead and open that one. And already you see across the top this new tab, Turning Point. Okay, now we're going to start and create a slide. You see I already have one in here. What I typically do, let's create this one from the beginning. I'm going to delete that so that you can see that we're just going to build it from scratch. So when you add a slide, if you're a PowerPoint user, you might be used to going over to Home and New Slide, but you're not going to do that for a polling slide. For one of these slides that polls, that collects data, you're going to go to the Turning Point tab. Remember, you had to start in there from that dashboard. You're going to click on New. And let's do multiple choice. It's familiar to everybody. So here's our multiple choice slide, and to a large extent it's just like a regular PowerPoint. You have title text here, and this is where I'm going to type my question. You have answers that are like a bulleted or numbered list, A, B, C, D, E, that kind of thing. You have objects that are pre-inserted. In other words, I didn't have to do anything because I created this using new and then object. It put a graph in here and it put table. Now this graph is going to show student responses, and this table is going to show the devices as they register in so that the students know that they have responded, right? All right, so when I start a polling session with my students, I like to have some slide at the beginning that simply allows them to make sure that their clicker is working, that everything is okay. You know, maybe the battery is dead on the clicker. Sometimes the clickers can get tuned to a wrong channel, so they're not registering in. So this just gives a chance to make sure all that stuff is okay. All right, okay, so I like to start out by saying something like, what is this chapter about? Now, you know, I teach business courses, so it would never be about surgery, okay? You know, so let's put that in there. It's, let's see, it might be about an overview, and this is chapter 1. Let's say, what is chapter 1 about? You know, just like with any quiz, it takes time. Whoops, hello. Oh, okay, my computer's going to go slow. But it takes time to get your questions exactly the way that you want. Oh, goodness, okay. My computer's a little old, so it hangs on some of these things sometimes. All right, that's what I needed. What is chapter 1 about? Okay, well, it's not going to be about surgery, but maybe it is going to be about an overview of the business environment. It would not be about neurology. It would not be about something as sophisticated as payroll and income tax changes. Oops, how about that? Oop. All right. Now, before I click my next button here, notice that, I just used PowerPoint's ABCD bulleted ordered list, ranking here. And this dialog box opens automatically when I inserted the slide, and it says, okay, what are your responses going to be? Now, it says ABCD as an example. I could have just AB, for example, as kind of a true-false type thing. I can go all the way, however many numbers there are on your clickers. Mine go through J, so I could have through J, and that will still say ABCD because it's just trying to show me an example. I could have numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4. I could have 0, 1 through. Here's what I'm trying to say. What's important here is that there's a number or a letter assigned to the answer, almost like a Scantron sheet, so that the students can push something on the clicker pad. Now, the other thing I'm trying to say is that down here towards the bottom, right now it only shows A, because by default that's the only thing that's on the slide. When I click away, this is going to update. My computer's older, so it's going to take a minute. This is going to update to show all those responses. Okay, so once it understands, once this dialog box updates to see this dialog box, it says, oh, okay, I see that there's new values. And let me just show you how dynamic this is. Let me see if I can move that around. Maybe I could add something like all of the above. Okay, now again, I need to click out of the box, and it takes a minute. It's going to update this. And you'll see it. It'll come over here. And there it goes. Oops. Okay, there it goes. Just trying to move this. My computer's saying you're doing too much, too fast. Oops, oops, oops. There we go. Okay. It keeps refreshing. There we go. Okay, see where it says no value? So it added all this. Now also in the background, you see my graph is changing, right? And so the numbers, the letters over here say, okay, here's surgery, overview of the business, neurology, payroll. So this is automatically happening. Now, which one is the correct answer? Because I can assign points to that, and I think that's a cool thing. So I'm going to say it's B is the correct, and watch this. As soon as I choose this one as correct, it changes all the other ones to incorrect, and so that's great. So they don't, if I had assigned incorrect points, they would get incorrect points, otherwise they just get 0 points. Now, I allow my students to click as many responses as they want. That's especially important at first because they get confused, but now if this is a test situation or if you really want them to think before they lock in a response, you can certainly change that and say, look, I only want to select the first response. Up here where it says polling options, automatically open polling, well, I can do that so that as soon as I arrive at the slide, the polling automatically opens. I'm going to show you, if we were to deselect that, I'm going to show you what that looks like, and I'll tell you why. I like the students to think about what they're getting ready to answer, and so to do that they need to read the question, and if the polling opens automatically, they tend to feel rushed to get that response in, so I like to make it wait a little bit. Now, when is it going to show the results? And the results being this graph over here, well, you can see that right now it's set to after polling. Okay, there's actually some tie-ins where this is going to be set in conjunction with preferences for the overall PowerPoint presentation, but for now it's after polling. That's great, that's fine, whatever. Okay, so I'm going to just click back here on the slide, and let's actually do this now. Because I don't have a big class sitting here, I'm going to have to click a whole bunch of clickers, so bear with me. So here we go. We're going to go into presentation mode. That will go away. It is not this slow, folks. My computer is so slow. I apologize. It kind of hampers the demonstration. Okay, so I would get to this slide. Students, what is chapter 1 about? Did you read the chapter? Have you opened that book? You looked at it? I know you did. But the students can't weigh in yet. If they try to click the little button on their response pad, because the poll is closed. So how do I open the poll? Just click the slide anywhere on the slide. Now, when I do that, you see the poll opens, and you also see this response table opens up because it's waiting for people to respond. So far, nobody has responded. This is kind of cool because if I know I have 10, 20, 30, 50 people in my class, I can keep track of, who has voted. So, okay, let me go ahead and say, oh, I think it's something. So the first device has weighed in, and you notice that green color. That means it's the first click. There's another device. Now, after I see, I think about this for a minute, I'm student number 1, I change my mind. So I'm going to vote again. When I vote again, it changes the color to show that I have voted more than once. You can use this as a motivational tool if you want. Maybe I changed my mind again. Now it goes purple, okay? But remember, we allowed for multiple responses. So I'm going to, everybody's going to, I'm voting here. Folks are coming in. Let's see here. Okay, now as the students are pushing the button on their response pad, they get a brief feedback on the screen on their response tab that says this is what you voted. But they tend to take more comfort in looking up to know that their device has registered in. Okay, so now I say, look, hey, only 6 of you guys have voted. You need to get with it now. I'm going to close this in about 5 more seconds. Oh, somebody else weighs in here. Good for them. Okay, but I'm serious, folks. I'm going to close the poll. How do I close the poll? I'm going to click that slide again. Notice polling is closed. This is going to happen much, much faster when you're on your computer in the classroom. And this graph is going to update because we said whenever it's done, it should show. So what I see is most of the students, ooh, hello, what just happened there? Most of the students, I'm sorry, this is working on an aged computer, I apologize. Most of the students understood, hey, this is an overview of the business environment, but I do have quite a few students. Now, this is out of 7, so you can kind of do the math here, but I have some people who hadn't even read the book. So maybe I need to chastise a few students, and I need to say, you know what, I'm going to ask you another question. Or I'm going to talk about it, and I'm going to say, you know what, come on now, I'm going to ask you this question again. Now here's the kicker. Let's talk about asking the question again. I'm going to move that out of the way. Here in my Turning Point Results tab, first of all, I can save this session. And I might want to do that, especially if I want to look at, I had, 7 students that responded. If there's 10 people in my class, I might want to go back through and look and say, who was just asleep at the wheel and not responding? Sometimes students respond early and not late, and maybe you want to look at that data. So you may want to save the session. Save it as a brand new session or save it onto something else. You can certainly do that. That way you'll have that data. I'm not going to save it, but if I attempt to run this slide again, look at this. It says, okay, the poll is closed, we know that, but it already sees 7 responses because it knows that data exists there. If I click to open the poll, what I'm going to see instead is my graph that says these are the answers that were already there. So it remembers that data was there, and if I click again, it just tried to advance me to the next slide because, it says I know. So here's what I'm going to tell you. If you have maybe multiple sections of a class and you're repeating this presentation over and over again, before you run it, you're going to need to reset it. Now you can reset the entire session, or you can reset just a particular slide, which is especially helpful if something went a little wacky. So I'm going to reset just that one slide. And before I run this again, I'm going to look at my settings once again, and I'm going to see if I want to change something. Maybe I need the students to make multiple responses. It's A and C or something like that. Maybe I do want to automatically open polling. Maybe I want to show the results during the polling. Now, this is kind of interesting. I'm going to show you this. Maybe I only want to accept their first response. Don't want them to change the responses. I could certainly do that. Maybe I want, this is a test and each question is 5 points. Do something like that. Whatever, that happens to be. Now, I want to show you something in particular with this show the results during polling. And move this out of the way again. I want to save my presentation. And I'm going to go ahead and run it again. Okay, poll is closed. Oh, now my computer is so slow, I apologize. You're going to see this is going to reset. Okay, I'm going to say it's going to reset when I click to open the poll. There it goes. So I'm going to open the polling. Now it does remember, but see how these are in gray? So it remembers these devices because they participated before. So it's going to say, okay, wait a minute now. Did number, well, let me vote with somebody different here. How about that one? There goes number 4. And how about that one? And that one, I change my response a little bit. And then comes student number 1, and he changes again. Oh, he doesn't know who, she and he, and who's on first and what's on second. And let's just get a couple of votes in here. Now, again, the students are seeing, the responses on their pad as they go, and you can see the graph changing, right? Are you watching that? Okay, I'll change this a couple times. Okay, so everybody has locked in their vote. I'm gonna, oops, let me get my mouse up here. And you can see the numbers changing. Now, here's the cool thing, and I mentioned this in one of the previous playlists. What the students are probably doing right now is they're saying, are you sure? I don't even know. I left my book at home. I thought it did include the payroll and income tax changes. I'm pretty sure that it did include that, and so I'm going to change my vote, and I'm going to put that one in. I think that's what I should do. Now, again, my system is kind of slow, so it takes the graph a little while to update, but maybe the more they talk, they think that it's about that. And then some other student says, no, I'm telling you, it is B, overview of business. So they're talking about it, whatever the question is, and it would maybe be more serious than this. And they come to a common decision, which is very interesting because one person has had the opportunity to persuade another person. And isn't that great? Because then you can say to them, hey, the majority of you thought it was this, or a lot of you did not know the right answer. So let's talk about what confused you, because you're not the only person who made that choice, right? Okay, close the poll. You see my computer updating. And there's the results, and a bunch of people changed their mind to the wrong thing. So what I might say to the class at this point is, hey now, I thought a lot of you had this correct, that it was overview of the business environment. Why did you change your mind? And if nothing else, they might learn to stick to their guns a little bit, right? If you know you're right, do that answer. Now, the computer was kind of struggling here with whether or not to update these results or not. So I want to briefly show you that in the preferences, and this might cause a problem for you. I think this depends on versions a little bit. Okay, there we go. This applies to the overall PowerPoint presentation. I clicked on preferences. Of course, you can change some of the colors and that kind of thing. But what I wanted to do is come down here and say, where it says show results, I can say during polling, you see not supported in 2007, and I can apply that to all the slides, so I don't have to worry about it anymore. That tends to make it a little bit more consistent, and you see that option with all of these, this apply all. If this is a test, or for whatever reason I want only to accept the first responses, just like you have first response over here, I could check that so that they cannot change their response, right? Okay, now this is kind of a long segment, but let me show you just a little bit more on this. I did not want the poll to begin automatically. I wanted to wait until I could describe something to the students. So maybe I want to insert an object. Okay, now there's lots of objects. These are PowerPoint objects. They're what is an object? It's a thing you can do, right? Correct answer indicator. Well, you know, I think students want to know what is the correct answer. Once you tell me what is the correct answer, I like to put a rectangle. You can see you can have check. Well, you can see you can have check marks or smileys or arrows or all that. I'm going to put that. And look at that. It knew, because over here in my slide I had already told it what the correct answer was, and it put that there. And we're going to see how this works. I can put a countdown timer. I love this, and there's different styles that you can have all kinds of fun with. See this? Now this is just an object, so I can move it around so that the students can see. Depending on your computer and what files are installed, sometimes it plays a little music. Again, it depends on your computer a little bit. I'm not interested in formatting that object. Okay, so let's see, over here I've got a countdown going. There's my response table, and I can show people who have not yet responded. How about that? There's so many things here. How about a bevel? And this is my answer now bevel. So what this is going to do is when I click this button, it's going to begin the polling. Now sometimes you may have a slide where you're going to demonstrate 2 or 3 things, or I don't know, you know, play a short movie or whatever, and then you want this answer, so you wouldn't want the poll to open, is what I'm saying, until you click the answer now button. So that's how you do it. We've done one with new, and we did a multiple choice slide, and then we came back and we added a couple of the objects here. So let's see, well, let's save that first. Now if I'm going to run this slide again, what do I need to do? I've got to reset it. I'll do the whole, I have one slide, right? So contains data you haven't saved. Is that okay? I don't want to save it. Let's just move forward. Now if you have a really big presentation, you want to do this you know, before you get started. It may take a couple minutes. And if you just need to reset a couple slides, by all means, just reset only those slides. So slides are reset. I'm going to start my presentation, and my PowerPoint is a little too big, and I made my movie window too small. Down below is the Answer Now button. So notice that polling is closed. You can't see this, and I'm so sorry, but I just clicked the Answer Now button. I should have moved that up. Oh, and I guess as a student I need to say, what is the answer? And let's get everybody answering. And they're all weighing in. And I'll say, okay, oops, I'm sorry, I've got so many laying around here, I apologize. I'm a one-man show here. So let's see, let's do that. So we've got 7 responses. I'll say, all right, folks, everybody is in. Let me close the poll. To close it, I'm just going to click anywhere on the slide again. Oh, I'm sorry, and I forgot to say that. That starts my countdown timer, because this is another object, and I'll show you what I mean by object in PowerPoint in just a minute. Now, if this is an easy question and I know the students, they don't want to wait for the next remainder of time, just click again. It'll go ahead and close that. Sometimes I use that to really force students to make a decision before they finish, okay? You know, if they're stressing and they don't want to make a decision, I'll use that to kind of push them. Oh, look at this. Everybody got it right. It's about time. Hallelujah. We're so excited. So I know I've got that one, and I can continue in my slides. What I wanted to show you when I say these things are objects, let me move this. I got too many things going on. If you're familiar with PowerPoint, again, that's a big thing. Each one of these things is an animation that will simply appear. So if I wanted the countdown timer to start automatically, and I have to admit I do this on my slides, I have the countdown timer display as soon as I click the Answer Now button. Now, it depends on what you're trying to do. If you want to set the countdown timer at about 10 seconds or so, I think we can do that. Oops, in here, yeah, here's my countdown timer. if I think it's going to take some students time, remember I can always click and stop the poll. Maybe I bump this up to 90 seconds, which is like a minute and a half. Or maybe I set this to 10 seconds. And when I click the countdown timer, maybe I don't make this automatic. So I could use that to say, let me show you what I'm talking about. I got to reset my slide. Okay, so here's how this would work, and let me drag this up here. I know this chunk is getting kind of long, so polling is closed. I'm going to click Answer Now. When I do, it's going to open. I'm sorry, it's taken my computer a little time. Okay, so now I'm waiting for the devices to respond, and I've got those 1 or 2 holdouts that are just sitting there. They're going to delay the class. You know, they're torn on the decision. They're not paying attention, whatever it happens to be. So this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to say, okay, you only have a couple seconds. So I click. Now my timer starts. Oh, I didn't save everything. I apologize. So this is going to say, look, you only have this much time and you're going to have to get going. Okay, so otherwise I'm going to close the poll. And so you see how that works. Okay, apologize for the confusion. Like I said, I'm kind of fighting a slow computer here. I will point out while I'm here, if you want to reset the slide without exiting, because sometimes, remember the answer triangle or rectangle, there it comes in. Sometimes if you escape and you go back here to reset the slide, they're going to see that the answer, and so you have to be careful about that. I have to admit, I don't use this answer. I tend to recreate the slide, or else just simply on the next slide, you know, when I say recreate, type the bullets, or on the next slide say the answer is this. You want to make sure that you're reviewing the answers with them as well, because they want to know, right? Okay, so this was kind of a long segment, and I apologize for that, but I hope you got some useful information about how to use even just this one technique on the slides and how important that is. And next we'll talk about some of the reports that you can get off of this. Thank you.